Welcome in, peeps. Today we have another beautiful guest that I love doing interviews with people that I love and that I believe in. And so I wanted to bring Rachael on today because we have a little bit of a history, and then I just started following her on Instagram, and we just have all kinds of nuggets to share with you today. But Rachael Morris is someone that I met at the very first Freedom Academy almost 5 years ago now. And Rachael was someone that I just watched and was just intrigued by, wanted to know her story. Didn't get to really spend a lot of time with her, but we started just connecting through Instagram. And over the years, I watched Rachael go from a really successful businesswoman and multi-level, and then suddenly make this switch to being certified as a holistic health coach and really diving into the hows and whys of why we as women diet and food things and all the different emotions and stuff that go with that. And I became intrigued because I've been going on this own journey myself of someone who's now in her 60s, still on the diet to lose the last 10 pounds, and saying, like, why am I feeling that way? And what are my food choices and things? Why do I do the things I do with food? So I reached out to Rachael, and she started this 12-week program. And I said, I think I want to work with her because I just saw some things that was more than just going on another diet. And so, Rachael, welcome in. She graciously agreed to be on your very first podcast, too. I did not know that.
Yes, I'm excited to be here. This is awesome.
So, I just wanted to kind of go back to the beginning of like, what was the catalyst of you starting your health journey and then like switching to coaching in this arena?
Yeah, so I've had health issues my entire life. Had really horrible cycles from the beginning of when I was like a teenager. And then just as I was starting to become an adult, I was realizing just some things were off, just not feeling like you should feel, in your 20s. And then,
Yeah.
you get married and you try to have children. And I was having infertility and all of these unexplained health issues. And that's kind of where it started for me, is just curiosity out of myself. And also, when you kind of experience these health issues, you're thrown into the medical system. And I did not have a great experience in the medical system. I was
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't felt seen or heard or
Mm-hmm.
understood. Medical gaslighting is definitely a thing, where people make you feel like you're crazy and they don't want to, listen to what you have to say. And so just going through that and I was diagnosed with PCOS,
Mm-hmm.
hypothyroidism. And then I was just trying to find answers for myself because I tried the medical route and I tried
Right.
to get pregnant and do all that. And I ended up with a miscarriage. I was almost in the hospital because I was put on Clomid, and with PCOS, that can just make cysts burst. So I was in a
Mm-hmm.
lot of pain. And then after the miscarriage, that's when I just kind of threw my hands up and I said, okay, this isn't working. I just lost a baby at 12
Mm-hmm.
weeks, and there's got to be a better way to this. I know I wasn't designed. My body didn't come out of the gate with these issues. There's deeper
Right.
things happening. And so that's where the curiosity just started, of like looking into things, trying to understand what was going on with my body. And that's where I started getting that interest into holistic healing. And then kind of the shift happened for me is when I started finding answers and started feeling better and was actually able to get pregnant on my own without any medical help. I kind of threw my
Wow.
hands up with that and just said I was done. I was tired of it. And then I got
Yeah.
pregnant with my daughter. And so that's when I said, look, I have a passion for this. I've also been the girl that's been on a diet since she was in middle school because, I had a horrible experience with that. And I probably read every diet book under the sun and own every diet book since I was 11. And so I have a passion for knowledge of understanding how the body works, understanding, what foods do certain things, what kind of supplements do
Mm-hmm.
certain things, and how to take control so you don't feel helpless, because that's definitely been my experience. And so I decided to go to the Institute for Integrative Nutrition and then got certified to be a holistic health coach, and then went back and did their mastery program for hormone health. And so that's when
Wow.
I started my career with health coaching about a decade ago.
Wow, that's amazing. And in between that time, you were selling for a very high-powered company that was kind of a diet company. And so what made you make that switch and start doing your own thing?
So I think what like captured my attention in the beginning was that helping people, and
Mm-hmm.
especially as a young entrepreneur, you come into it not really knowing what you don't know. And
Yeah.
so you don't really know how to start a business, you don't know how to reach people, you don't know how to support people. You're not really given the tools on how to actually follow through. So I did join network marketing in the beginning because there
Mm-hmm.
was that structure. It definitely helped
Mm-hmm.
me with understanding what did a business look like and how to operate it. And then it was very much a diet culture though.
Mm-hmm.
And it worked and it helped
Mm-hmm.
people get some weight off. But at the end of the day, I just kept seeing people coming back. The same clients like kept coming back
Mm.
every couple months or a couple times a year, and just kept saying, I need a reset. I need to figure out how to get this weight off again. I've gained all of it back and plus some, or I just cannot figure out why I can't stick to something and keep it off. And so it
Mm.
just kind of like a light bulb clicked for me, is like, this isn't actually truly helping people. It's not giving them the freedom that they're really looking for. It is a quick fix. It's giving them like some great results for a short amount of time, but it's not teaching them anything. And that's when I
Wow.
started asking questions and having some thoughts of myself of like, well, why is that? Why
Yeah.
do these programs not teach anybody how to do something long term or address the problems that have made them gain the weight in the first place? They're giving them these simple solution plans and they're not really helping them in the long term. So why is that? And that's when I
Yeah.
started thinking like, this isn't the path for me anymore. I need to do things
Mm-hmm.
differently. I need my coaching and what I do for people to be extremely different than what's out
Yeah.
there, because I actually want life change for people instead of just getting them, 20 pounds off and moving on.
Yeah. And then, like, there's tactics that they use to keep you bound to these products, right? And ultimately, I think the biggest thing with all of those kind of programs is that you have to learn how to eat regular regular food and like learn how to eat healthily just within those boundaries too. So the diet industry is very much trying to hold you to these products to or pills or whatever. Now it's shots.
Yeah.
All these things, but when you stop all those things, you still go back to you, right? So like did you see kind of a wave of that of in the industry of like they have to be doing these products in order for it to be successful, and it's a lifelong thing. I also see a lot of they do you said the word reset and I was like, "Oh, ding ding," cuz I've seen that lately too again, and I've done this where it's like we need to do a 3-day fast or a 7-day fast to reset. And I'm like, doesn't your body know how to reset already? Like, why are we starving our body?
Right. Yeah, I mean, you think about the diet industry and you think about all of these companies, especially the big ones like the Weight Watchers and like the ones that are like the publicly traded companies. You have to remember that at the end of the day, they say their mission is to help people get healthy and to change their lives, but they're still publicly traded companies. And publicly traded
Mm,
companies want like to continue have income coming in. And
right.
so their mission and their tactics and what their business structure is, they kind of conflict, because at the end of the day, they
Wow.
say their mission is to be helpful, but they want you to keep coming back. And that's why they make these systems so simple to follow. Because if they can get you to a point where
Wow.
you're not thinking, where you don't have
Yeah.
to actually ask yourself some tough questions, if you don't actually have to learn anything, and it's so easy, they know that they can suck you in and they can keep you coming back because everybody loves like an easy plan, right?
Yeah.
The easier it is, the more
Easy and
often,
fast.
right? The
Yeah.
more often they're going to come back. That's the thing. And so they make their systems easy to do, like not easy to understand. So like
Mm,
points, no one really knows what a point is. No one really knows like what that is. So they make a system, even though at the end of the day, it's a calorie counting system. But if they taught you how to count calories, you would never need their app. you would never need to come
Right.
back.
Oh
So
my
they make things up
goodness.
like points, or they make a simple system with, foods, or, they give you these things to make you dependent on them, because they don't
Mm,
actually, at the end of the day, want you to learn anything. They don't want you to learn how to keep it off, because then they lose you as a customer, and losing you as a
mm.
customer is lost income. And at the end of the day, especially a publicly traded company, that's the last thing they want. They want just people constantly coming back. So it's not in their
Mhm.
best interest to actually give you the freedom when it comes to your body and your weight and your health.
Wow. That is eye-opening. Yeah, I didn't think of it like that, like they're publicly traded companies. So it is a money market thing where they have to get that income coming in and bringing new people in to support
Yeah.
it. So, what do you see the number one struggle with women with body issues?
I think the number one struggle for women is just the lack of trust in themselves. I mean, we are from the very
Mm,
beginning of like adolescence kind of taught not to trust ourselves and trust like
yeah.
our decision making. We're not supposed to trust. I mean, we're even like we're labeled like don't give in to your cravings. Cravings are bad, like everything from the beginning. And that's just it's brainwashed to make you believe like my brain is not smart. I can't be trusted because it's
Mhm,
going to lead me down a bad path. When if we really think about it, like think about how our bodies were designed and our brains were
mhm.
designed, we didn't come out the gate needing rules and regulations and
Right.
plans. Like we were born with this innate ability to trust ourselves and make decisions that are best for our health. It's how we've survived all throughout history up until this point. We didn't need diets and all of these things. And it's just so true that the women that are struggling the most with the body issues have the least amount of confidence and trust in themselves and their abilities. And they just continue to perpetuate that cycle because they don't believe that they're trustworthy. And then they'll do these diets that are designed to make them fail, further like confirming that they are not trustworthy. And then they just
Mm,
start the cycle again and they shame themselves and they just go down that path again and again and again. And you know how your brain works. Like when you give it
mhm.
proof of something, it just continues to believe it. So when you
Yeah,
fail the diet, you just further perpetuate that idea and solidify it in your brain. Like you can't be trusted. You cannot make your
right.
own choices. You need someone to do it for you. And so then we lose all confidence that we can do this on ourselves. And then we start
Yeah.
spending thousands of dollars on all these plans to be our savior.
Wow. I know that when you talked about that a few lessons back, it blew my mind because I was like, oh my gosh, yeah, they're teaching us not to trust us. Like, so I do want to talk about what I love, love, love about you and what you do is that this isn't about just food, this is about mental health. And so, can you speak about that a little bit of how we as women don't clear out pathways to even be in a healthy place? Because you just said it, like when they say, oh, you can't trust yourself, what is that doing to that woman mentally?
Yeah. I mean, it's just the amount of shame that especially in this line of like what I do for a living that you see women are experiencing on a daily
Mm,
basis because all of these plans are designed to make them fail. Like
yeah.
mental health is so much more because what we don't realize is that 90% of women that are having weight loss issues or like are struggling in their health, it 90% of the time doesn't even have to do with food. Food is just
Mhm,
something we've used as a coping mechanism. It's something we've used to keep us safe. We use it as
mm,
boundaries. We use it as like something to self-soothe. Food
mhm,
is just the problem solver, but no one's asking
mhm,
what the real problem is. And so
mm,
when you do that deeper work and you dig and you find out, well, what kind of is going on behind the scenes? What is the thing that's causing me to want to go home from work and binge on 3 bags of chips? Like what are the things that are happening in my life where I feel so stressed out that I'm drinking a bottle of wine every single night, or two glasses of wine
the
and
mommy juice.
chocolate? Yeah, but no one's asking, why do we need it? Like what's happening
Right.
in our lives? And it's like the mental health stuff is just getting so glossed over. The true stories behind why we're struggling in the first place are completely getting ignored. And we're bypassing the stuff that's truly going to change our lives by doing that deeper work. And we're focused on just kind of like putting a band-aid on it. We think that doing the next diet, doing the next, restrictive thing is going to be the solution that all of a sudden helps us get to where we want to be. But the truth is, like, regardless of what diet we do, regardless of what restrictive plan we do, if the problem, the root of the issue, the reason why we're binging, the reason why we're like having these issues, the trauma that we've experienced, the stories that we've told ourselves, if that's not addressed, if we don't do that deeper work, you're going to continue to struggle. You're going to continue to gain the weight back because that's not being fixed. The root problem is not being addressed.
Wow. Yeah, and if you could say like what would be one thing that a woman could start doing today to value themselves and their bodies, like what would that be?
I think the biggest thing is like starting to practice mindfulness. I know that sounds
Mm,
woo-woo, but when you
mhm,
find yourself like at these places where you shame yourself, because we always, we have those moments, and I've been there myself where you binge
mhm,
and you have like 3 bags of
mhm.
chips, whatever, like you ate all of these things, and then you feel shame. It's to stop
Yeah.
yourself in that shame cycle and ask
Okay.
yourself what was going on, because you can just shame yourself and say, okay, I'm going to jump on a diet tomorrow. But like, if whatever caused you to binge in the first place continues to happen the next day, you're going to
Mhm,
continue to binge and have the same cycle and feel horrible
mhm.
about yourself. And then your mental health and your confidence in yourself, all of that is going to go down the drain. And so if you can
Yeah.
stop yourself the moment you feel the shame and do the deeper
Mhm,
work and separate
mhm,
yourself, take a moment, take a breath, get a journal, whatever you have to do, and write down
mhm.
what was going on in my day, what was going
Yeah.
on this evening, what happened, did something happen to cause me to be triggered, was this a
Yeah.
really tough day at work, did I get into an argument, was something, with my parents or something, like with a sibling, what happened to make me feel this amount of stress, because the
Yeah.
food's not the problem. It was never the problem. You
Wow.
use food to feel better. Now we have to figure out what made you want to feel better and
Yeah.
address that and do work to fix that. And you won't want the food.
Yeah. And also, you don't feel better after eating the bag of chips because your
You
stomach
don't.
hurts.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then you're like, then it's double shame of like, now I feel like crap and I ate a whole
I
bag
know.
of cookies or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's funny because like I think even when you're so the shame like for me it's like realizing when I go in for a cookie and then I want one more cookie, it's just asking yourself questions like, okay, so with the second cookie, am I going to stop or what's going on that I feel like I need to keep eating? Because it's not like you're hungry. It's just that's really more of a those binge times are not because you're hungry. It's
Mhm.
because something else is going on. So it's like just asking that question and also releasing the guilt of like, if you want two cookies, have two cookies. Know that that's going to be a part of your diet for that day.
Right.
Add it into your macros and all of that, which we can get into. But just knowing like it doesn't have to be a guilt thing. I think that's a thing is like I know for me, food is like such a comfort. It's an emotional eating kind of thing. It's such a comfort for me because when my mom was in her calm moment, she would bake. And so I relate that to comfort, to safety. I relate it to safety, really. And so that feeling of like not feeling guilty when you have that stuff, but knowing when to stop and just say, it's okay. Cause it's almost like you have to keep it out of bounds. Well, you're never like, I have some friends that like, you can never have sugar. And I'm like, that's never going to be an option like that. I don't know anyone that will never, ever, ever have a bite of sugar again. Like at some point, you're going to eat sugar of something
Mhm.
because everything has sugar in it. And
Yeah.
so, I mean, I just don't know how you avoid that for the next 50 years. But I think the guilt from that, then it becomes a whole mental issue of like, oh my God, I ate a cookie. It's horrible. It's not about that. It's about like, can you eat a cookie or two and just say, okay, I'm good. Or if you ate six cookies, go, okay, what was that about? Don't don't feel like this hungover guilt to where you're going to do it again next time. It's like asking the questions of like, what was I feeling right then? Like, why did I feel the need to have those six cookies? That has been eye opening because then it's like the next time I go in for a sweet or a snack or something, I'm like, yeah, I'm just good with this little portion. It doesn't
Mhm.
become a comfort or a safety issue anymore. It's like, I just want something sweet. End of story. right? It doesn't have to be this big, gigantic thing. And so I think that's where people get really messed up with the whole food issue is like these, like you have rewired my brain of like, we all have this diet culture of these are bad foods and these are good foods. And it's like, no, food is just food. And
Yeah.
we have to stop making it this like powerful thing. It's really not. It's just that, you know, we're connecting it to these other outside things. So, what would be the biggest lesson that you have learned since becoming a coach?
I think the biggest lesson is you realize so many people have stories that have never been touched and never been addressed, and that's why
Wow.
they're struggling. You,
Yeah.
especially with what I do, this isn't just something I do is not just like writing someone a diet plan and moving on with my day. It's very much like a one-on-one relationship. And what you'll find
Mhm.
is when you talk to these women who want to get healthy and want to lose weight, there's so much deeper happening and so much
Mhm.
that they've gone through. There's so much that these women have overcome and so much that even in childhood that they have had to weather that has never been even brought to earth. You know, like some of these stories have been
Mhm.
so pushed down and covered up with food and bad habits
Mhm.
and coping mechanisms that they've never even talked about them. And you realize that at the end of the day, there's so much that women need to work through and pain that's been suppressed that it's okay. Like the biggest thing is like it's okay to bring this stuff out, to work on this stuff, to uncover the stuff that you think is like has nothing to do with your weight or your diet. Like there's stuff so much deeper that if you can actually dig into that stuff and the stories that are under that, you're going to see so much bigger transformation in your life than just in your waist. You know, like your jeans are going to be smaller by just like a byproduct of doing the work that is deeper, but you also become
Yeah.
a whole fulfilled person because of the work that you're doing. Because I truly don't believe anybody wakes up and says, you know what, I want to be overweight today. I don't think anybody wakes up and says, like, hey, I think it's a great day, to gain 30 pounds, out of the blue and just, always struggle with my weight. I think there's so many questions that no one's asking and no one's taking that time to actually dig into to really understand a person and why they are the way that they are. And that's where the
Yeah.
work is.
Ugh, so good. Yeah, and that's like the number one thing that I really trust you and I tell everyone about you is just, you know, digging into that work. That has been such a eye opener. And also you said something about the stress too. It's so funny when you relieve the stress of the power of what food has over you. It's like it's not even the weight as much as like the inflammation and your, you know, your cortisol levels and all of that. It just releases where you're waking up going, "Oh, I don't have like tight fingers and my body doesn't ache as much." And you realize you're starting to breathe into this life of just like you know what you're going to do in the morning. You don't have to stress about. It's amazing how obsessive we become about every single thing that we eat and what we're going to do. And, you know, we try to plan out all this stuff. And at the end of the day, it's like if you know how to do this intuitively, the stress releases off your body so easily. It's kind of scary.
Mm-hmm.
It's scary
Yeah.
that we're holding on to all this stuff and you're just like, "Oh, this is like crazy that I was holding on to the stress of that." So this your stress is holding on to weight too, not just like you can go on every little diet that you want, but like if your stress levels are high, that's probably why a lot of women struggle through or gain back really fast because they're stressed out. And so that was like a huge thing for me is to wake up every morning and go, "Huh, that's really weird. Like, I'm not feeling the way I used to. My body feels lighter, and the weight also stays off and stays put because you're eating the right amount of food." One other thing I just wanted to mention too, we are not eating enough food. That was
Yeah.
crazy. When you started me on this program, you're like, "So you need to eat about 1,500 calories a day." And I was like, "What? I can't eat that much." And then I started tracking and I realized I was only eating about 800 calories a day, which is nothing for a woman. And also was putting me into starvation mode, which is another reason why I couldn't lose weight, is because my body wasn't getting. So it was like panicking itself. So that was like a huge eye opener to me of like, what you mean I can actually eat 3 full meals a day and have a
Yeah.
snack if I want one and I'm okay? So that was so eye opening. So I think like women, we are not eating enough food. We're scared of food and it's the wrong message. And so Rachel can help you with that. But it
Yeah.
was so good to be able to I think that was the biggest stress relief of just getting up in the morning and going, yeah, I can have a full breakfast. Like this is cool. Like I was the grab a power bar in the morning and have a cup of coffee. That's my breakfast. And honestly, sometimes that has to be if I'm running out the door, but I try to grab a banana too or something else, that to stock up with it and make up for that. But it's just that realization of like you got to fuel your body.
Hmm.
So
Totally.
good.
And nourished feels different than deprived, like you can see
Yeah.
changes in results with feeling nourished at the same time. You don't have to. Everybody associates seeing results with feeling deprived and saying no and feeling like they're making sacrifices. And that's just something that we've been brainwashed to believe. And
Yeah.
it's been brainwashed because these plans put you in such a calorie deficit to give you these quick results. So they put you in these extreme calorie deficit and then they just tell you this is how it's supposed to be. It's totally normal to feel horrible. It's totally normal to be exhausted and have no energy and intense sugar cravings. And that's not normal. You can
No.
feel nourished and feel energetic and feel good and still see results. They're just not telling you that.
And when you're nourished, you actually don't feel sugar cravings as much, which
Yes.
was a surprise. Yeah. It was like, oh, I was intensely feeling, I'm a sugaraholic, so I love sweets, but it's been crazy because the more food I'm eating, it's like, oh, yeah, not really feeling that, sugar craving as much. And so that's been nice. But yeah, so much information. I want to bring you on for specifics if you don't mind sharing next time. um, there's just so many nuggets that Rachel has, but I will encourage you to look her up on Instagram. Rachel, what is your handle on Instagram?
It's Rachael Morris Health. And Rachel is Rachael.
Yeah, and we'll have her name in the notes, the show notes, so you can follow her along. And if you get a chance to check her out, please contact her DM because she is starting a new 12-week program in April. Is
Yes,
that?
April 1st is
Yes.
our next round. Registration actually opens this Friday for it. So it's going to be a 12-week program. You'll get a custom nutrition plan, but you get more than anything the education. We talk about food freedom, we talk about toxins, we talk about exercise, we talk about just all kinds of stuff to make you feel super empowered when it comes to your health and making the right choices. And I always say, like, my goal at the end of the 12 weeks is so that you feel dangerous and you don't need another plan or another coach ever again.
So good. Rachel, I just am in awe of you. I adore everything that you're doing. I think it's so important to help other women through this dieting culture and get rid of all of the bad information we've been getting and really having you speak some good truth into them. So I thank you so much for being a guest today. And peeps, until next time, who knows who we'll have on or what I'll be talking about. But thank you so much for joining us today, and we will see you next time.